Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Derp Your Hooves. So today we're going to be doing another Bell 407 video, and it's kind of a tutorial video. See, but I don't have a whole bunch left to teach you. So someone had commented recently in the previous videos that the assists were off. And you know what? I thought something was really weird with the helicopter because it just seemed really easy to fly for helicopters. Because, like I said, I had flown helicopters previously in flight sim, version whatever, years ago, like 15 something years ago, and some of the other versions, and they really were a lot more difficult. So, yeah, I had actually, let's see, I had the assisted tail rotor on and the assisted cyclic on. So I'm just showing you my settings. They're all off for the helicopter. So we can go ahead and we can go back. Right? Yes, we can go ahead and we can go back. And we can resume. So the other thing that I've done recently is I've downloaded some helipads. Oh, and I repainted the Derpicopter just for Japan. So we have a new version of the Derpicopter just for Japan. Unfortunately, I didn't put the derpy eyes on the bottom. But so I'm going to be taking off and landing at helipads. So I wanted to note that... Oh, and let's get the right camera angle, the one I like. So I wanted to note that with the assists off, and you'll see that some of my takeoffs are terrible, it's not as easy to fly. So if you're struggling with this helicopter, you might want to leave the assists on for a while. And there's no shame in having them on. You're learning how to fly. It's really difficult to take off and land in this thing. And you have to use a lot of trim functions. So again, remember, we're on a PC. And in my previous videos, and I encourage you to go back and watch them, you can see that I have a stick and throttle and rudder pedals. And they make all the difference in flying and piloting. Now, I also wanted to say, I am not using an Xbox. I don't own an Xbox. It's not that I don't like Xbox. It's, just I can't afford one with everything else that I'm spending on flight simming. So, that's why I don't have one. So I'm not so sure how this handles on Xbox. I know there's auto trim features you can turn on and turn off. We do have the crash realism set to on. And right now, yes, because it's a training video, I'm not using live weather and live time. But I do want to fly through Tokyo, because I had said before that Tokyo is just full of helipads everywhere. So this is really going to change how you fly this helicopter. See, I've got to trim down. I've got to correct my trim, my pitch. And I really can't spend too much time in external views, because the more time I spend not staring at my gauges and not being in control of this helicopter, this aircraft, the greater chance it has to get away from me. As you've seen my previous video where the VR headset kicked in, and that was, just a real big inconvenience. Because it throws off your whole, game, especially as you're landing. And it throws off your groove. It throws off everything. So, it really does fly quite well. And I'm just using some rudder, and I am spending a lot of time with the trim, because if you don't, you're going to have, if you're using my setup where you have a throttle that you would be using as a collective and a throttle together, more or less, and you have a stick, your trim, as it would be in a fixed-wing aircraft, but this is not a fixed-wing aircraft, it's a helicopter, your stick will actually be all over the place as you adjust for different speeds and different angles, and you'll just kind of be wondering, why is my stick all the way to the left and how do I land? So you really have to play a lot with the trim, with the helicopter trim, with the rotor trim, with the tail rotor trim, which is, remember, I kind of briefly showed you how to do that in one of the videos where you set it up. I have a hat switch on my stick, and that way I can actually kind of center, as I'm doing slowly, the helicopter backing off on the throttle, because we don't really need to be, booking it across the sky in a helicopter. We're not in a fighter jet, and I do love fighter jets, and I would love to get back to some of those tutorials. But right now, flying is flying, and let's challenge ourselves with something very difficult like a helicopter. So, I could think of a whole bunch of lessons to be giving people about helicopters, like, yes, they don't fly like planes. If you've ever heard of some of the, helicopter disasters, they don't like mountains. And this one in particular, I'm working on something. Pushing it to its limits really doesn't like large mountains. So you have to be careful because it doesn't handle like a fixed wing airplane. So, I'm just kind of gliding through Tokyo. And again, yes, I do have some add-on helipads. That's where we took off from. And you can get those on flightsim.to, and I'll give you a list if you look in the text description of the video of a link you can follow to go download them for a PC. They're free. You can actually get a lot of things off that website for free for PC users that really just enhance the graphic quality of the sim. Not that it's not sometimes great already, but that website can definitely help you out with some great free user content. So, one of the chief complaints, and I had complained about it too in Asobo, Microsoft Asobo, whatever, has done a pretty good deal of cleaning up some cities and some places and their helipads, but the closer you get to some of these buildings that are satellite imagery or something, they look really weird. And I think that they were thinking when they made the sim that you were going to be in a plane thousands of feet in the air, and you weren't really going to be that low paying attention to details and blah, 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 whatever. I don't work for them, so I don't know. But some people are like, oh, but everything just looks so horrible as you get in low. Well, again, everybody, this is a sim. It's not real life. And we get what we get, and I understand that, it's not the cheapest sim in the world either, but sometimes these buildings and the way they're doing them don't look right. So, remember, it's a sim. Like, here's a great one coming up. This is like a theme park, and this is just, what the AI and the satellite imagery from Bing Graphics have put in. And, the closer you get, it looks, just really bad. I'm going to say, and some people are going to hate me for this, but it's much better than the graphics on the current version of X-Plane. Yeah. I have that too. Haven't really been flying it a lot lately. But that is, that's just kind of oof. Look at, I don't know. What happened here? Well, that's, don't worry. AI is not taking over the world and getting away with it because it does things like that. So we're safe right now from that fear, if anybody has it. Terminators are not coming yet, nor is the Matrix coming yet. I think with AI being what it is, that you would be like, whoa, something's not right here. Be like, well, lots of things aren't right here. Last time I checked, buildings don't look like this. So, enough about that, right? Yeah, that's just, But for the most part, it's still an enjoyable experience. And in VR, it looks just the same. So don't worry about it. And I know I've said, hey, great, we should fly in VR. And we should, the minute I can master getting my VR settings down. So you see, I'm now chit-chatting too much and I'm drifting sideways. And that's what happens. So this is what happens when you slow down and you have all of your assists off. Landing is going to be a challenge. Flying sometimes can be a challenge. You're coming through, and I mean, like a helicopter does, it kind of tries to get away from you because it's not a fixed wing aircraft. It's a giant spinning blade. It's two spinning blades to control this thing as it basically like fly hovers through the air. So, you know, what an amazing machine that we went from fixed wing aircraft and then in like the 40s, 50s, you know, and then on, we had helicopters, you know, actual helicopters, more than just concepts from like Leonardo da Vinci and other people that were like, this is possible, but, you know, so we actually had the real thing. So they do not fly like airplanes. So you really have to play with it. And you may not like hearing that, but that's the truth. And, you know, I mean, I think I got to get the Tokyo upgrades, some of the water upgrades. And I know they have Google Graphics, in case anyone says, but they have Google Graphics. And again, I'm not going back to the Google Graphics right now. I'm trying to cause less problems with the sim and enjoy the flying without stutters and problems and all this stuff just, you know, attacking my CPU and my GPU. You know, I have enough mods in this to create issues. So here's a nice helipad, right? Here's a nice double set of helipads. So we could try for them. We could literally try for them. So, you know, I'm going to use my rudder pedals. And hopefully I won't dip too low below the building because I've got to slow down a little bit. You see I'm starting to rotate. And they're giant helipads, and I strongly recommend using giant helipads. And you see that I'm rocking around. So let's actually kind of circle the building, and I'm going to just describe my process because I'm not going to talk as I try my landing in fear of dying in the sim. So let's just kind of walk you through it, and then I'll do it. And right now I'm using my rudder pedals to turn the plane, the helicopter. Forgive me, it's an aircraft. So I'm using my rudder pedals to rotate the aircraft, the helicopter. And I am pushing on the left rudder, so it's going to the left. Now, if I make hard, sharp, fast corrections at a low airspeed, we're going to have issues. It's going to get away from me. It's going to spin around. It's going to fight me. It's going to get all squirrely. We're not landing, right, at an airport. Now, helicopters also in general have a tendency to kind of rotate in a direction without your help. And so on takeoff, you have to usually apply opposite rudder, sometimes mess with the trim. I mean, it's a whole thing to get it off the ground without it spinning out of control. And I have heard people complain about that. So that's why I said rudder pedals, at least a throttle. If you can find a collective, like I said, I know there's one, maybe two out there on the market that you can get for this sim for your PC. I don't know how much they cost. I don't know how to configure them, how easy it is, but other people do have them. And if you want to fly with a real collective, they do make them. We are using a throttle, quadrant, and a stick. Again, hopefully I'm going to say that for the last time in this video. And so my throttle settings really aren't mapped to a key, and we're going to get around this big tower instead of going into it as we rotate in the wrong direction. So I'm not really playing with my throttle settings, which are down here. You'll see it on that white band where it says max next to the red button on the collective. I'm using my throttle as a collective, and I'm just using the actual throttle of the aircraft is staying fixed. And it's like at idle, or it's on fly setting, or it's at 94. It's whatever the default of the sim is, because we're not going to use max as we're landing. We're just going to use whatever the default is. So you can fly these things with this minimal setup. You can fly it with a gamepad. I don't know how well it does with the assists off in a gamepad, but in your PC, you can fly them. See, I take my feet off the pedals. When I take my feet off the rudder pedals, the aircraft says, oh, I want to autocorrect myself, and I want to nose down, and I want to spin in directions, and then I can take my pedals and I can spin it to the left. If I, well, to the right. If I apply pressure to the right pedal, and then my trim comes off, and then look, it starts spinning, and it starts going into a spin, and it's starting to lose altitude, and yeah, so that's, you know, and then it gets squirrely and out of control, and you have to recover. So you will fight with that with your assists off until you learn how to dance with this aircraft. So let's focus on the hard part about landing. It's going to be a combination of small corrections to the rudder pedal and corrections to the trim sometimes, and my pitch angle, which is nose up, nose down. And I'm going to try and land flat. Now, I'm going to give you guys a fair warning. With the two assistances off, it's really hard, and I may not make it. And if you guys don't make it either, like I said in my previous video, try and try again. Keep at it until you get it, because you're not going to get there unless you practice. So you see it's drifting. It wants to drift to the right. This helicopter constantly wants to drift to the right. And so I'm using my view, not the trim. Now we have the trim. So I'm going to come in quietly, and I'm going to try and land. Now you should land top down. I'm landing more at a level, almost like a bottom up, and it's a very beginner-y type of landing. You want to go from the top down, not from the bottom up. So let's get it a little higher, give it a little bit of throttle, not too much, because you kind of want to just descend on the helipad. Okay, so we're above the helipad, right? We're definitely above the helipad. We're giving it less throttle. We're coming in, and slowly, we'll hit that helipad. Without hitting the building, I hope. More throttle. Rudder pedals. My stick is really far to the left, so my trim's off. It's giving me not a whole bunch of room to make this landing. And less. More throttle. Or up on the collective. Back, off. Gentle. Want to bring it in gently. We're too close to the lip. Up. Less collective. Down. It's going to clunk. But we're going to get there. Oof. See? Less collective. That's why we rotated on the ground. So that was very difficult. And I'm not going to lie. That was very difficult. So, again, and I'm going to say, and I'm just going to be honest with you guys, this is why Pony doesn't fly helicopters. They are a challenge. But I'm up for the challenge. So, practice. Lots and lots of practice. Remember, if you enjoy flying or flight simming, both, one or the other, actual flying, the mistakes are pretty minimal because your actual life is on the line, which is why I say, oh, and the lives of others if they're their aircraft. So that's why I say, that my flight sim videos are not for professional pilots in training, and I will not accept any responsibility or liability if you use them as you're actually flying something and something happens. This is a flight sim. Okay, so with that said, and the seriousness out of the way, back to the hobby of flight simming. Ooh, and, my voice keeps cracking. I should probably have that looked at this point. My voice should probably not be cracking. Pony's a little bit older than a preteen. And if you guys are preteens, hey, or teenagers, it's not about age, forgive me. I'm making a joke about my voice cracking. I do tend to get kind of sarcastic, so I hope you guys like a little bit of sarcasm. So here we are, and we're on this building, and it seems like a hospital, the one with twin helipads. And you see there weren't a whole lot of buildings in my way, so I couldn't crash into those buildings. And we pretty much barely made this landing. Now, again, all of the assists are off. So the helicopter is like, hey, I'm not a Cessna 172. This isn't a runway. I'm a helicopter. So you guys have got to practice at it. And that's part of enjoying the sim as a hobby. It's just having fun with it. And you're going to crash. You literally are going to crash. All the time. Oh well. At least it's not real life. Hopefully you learn something from, the crashes you make. You go, maybe I shouldn't do that again. Now, overall, this is what I'm going to give you guys for a tutorial video for the 407 for right now. On a little bit more of an advanced lesson, because Pony needs to go practice to fly this 407. Now, I'm working on a bunch of different videos, and I appreciate the requests that I get, and I'm always open for requests. So I file them away, and I look at them so I can make another video. I'm not sure what my next video is going to be. It's probably going to be something with fixed wings. I know there's a couple things out there that are going to be for sale soon. One of them I've been saving my money to buy, and I'm pretty sure that will be, a video coming up. So, I was going to do a video with some of the other helicopters because they do not fly like this 407 does. It's not that they're good or bad. They just don't fly like this helicopter. And some would say they don't fly as real as a helicopter, and I guess not actually having ever flown a helicopter in my life. But I guess I could say, okay, yeah, I could see that because it's a sim and, it was made by, people who might not know. And it doesn't, some of these don't fly like actual helicopters. And they don't. They don't have all your trim settings. They don't fight with you. They're easier to fly. And some of them are payware. So I'm not, again, so let's kind of go over this point too. I am not being endorsed by anybody. So my comments are my own. And my opinions are my own. Because no one's paying me to do this. So I'm totally free to speak about how I feel about things as a sim pilot. I think that the Hype Performance Group, the H-145, being a payware helicopter, is a great helicopter. I don't know how it flies compared to the real one, but I know when I compare it to this Bell 407, they're two totally different helicopters. It's much easier to fly than the 407. It's a great helicopter to learn how to fly helicopters on, because in the beginning it will be difficult for someone who's never ever flown a helicopter in the sim to fly. And then you can get to this. Now this 407, like I said, this is a great helicopter for the sim. This is, it's difficult. Like a helicopter. Again, how many times have I said that? I don't know. But the complaints about this thing being unmanageable and hard to fly if you've ever actually flown the Bell 407, like if you have an actual pilot's license and you're watching Pony's video and you're like, this guy, dude, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, well, I mean, you know, yeah, I've never flown an actual helicopter. Again, I said that before. So you would know more than I would. And of course, I would welcome your constructive comments, but not trolling. Saying, hey, you know what? It really doesn't fly like that. Hey, there's a couple things it really doesn't do, whatever else. And hey, you know. So I would say talk to an actual helicopter pilot if you know one and be like, hey, check out my sim. Because a lot of people do that. You know, I have an actual, you know, fighter pilot. You know, there's some people that I follow on YouTube. They're like, hey, I actually, you know, I was the backseat Rio officer of the Tomcat. And, you know, I know some F-14 pilots. And, you know, I'm going to have them fly DCS or Microsoft Flight Sim and compare the realism because they would know. So I know what I know as a sim pilot. And I'm just going to say, this helicopter, it's great. It's going to take a while to master it. I think Asobo, Microsoft, I think they did a great job on making it. It's a whole bunch of fun to fly. You know, I have the premium version of the sim, and I'll have it forever as long as they keep this sim as the main sim. And they give it to you. They just give it to you. Now, the liveries, you can get those again. And I'm not plugging anything, but you can get those on flightsim.to. And they're free. Now, if someone says, just in case someone says, hey, Pony, I really like that livery, I'm thinking about making it available to the public, or a version of it available to the public on flightsim.to. That would be free to download. So, you know, if you like it, you can also post that in the comments, and, you know, maybe I'll, you know, get ready to post it on flightsim.to. A little cleaner version of it. Something with an exhaust stack that's not painted. But anyhow, so that's it. That's pretty much all I'm going to say about the Bell 407. I am going to kind of go into this at the end of the video, and just kind of a, you know, a little bit of a disclaimer, so as we go through, but not really a disclaimer, so let's just stay inside because the outside's so noisy. So there's a bunch of stuff, you know, like that I don't know about this helicopter, and, you know, I also say stuff like I don't know what the gauges are, but I do know that that's your altitude indicator, and this is your airspeed indicator, and this right here, now I like to call it your angle indicator. Wow, you see, now I forgot the name of it. But, you know, this is actually your yeah. It's like your attitude indicator. I keep forgetting the name of this one here. But it is. It's your, like, your attitude indicator. You know, it's your pitch indicator. It does. It indicates the pitch or the angle of the aircraft, whether you're nose up or nose down. We've been over that. You know, and then you have your, right here you have your navigational device, which I like to call a compass because that's basically what it is, but it's, you know, your navigational device. So, you know, I have to go back and I have to study my, my instrument panel again. And I really should know this. All pilots, actual pilots, are required to know this. So it's your directional finder. It's your navigation instrument. And I don't know what a bunch of these are. I mean, I know that, like, there's your RPM, and then there's your exhaust gas, and there's all kinds of really cool stuff. And, you know, like I said, if a derp like me can fly, then so can you. Because look at what I know. I mean, I know next to nothing, right? Well, you know, I just forget the technical names of things. So there we go. And again, you know, like I said, with the whole AI doing its own thing, which is how they make these buildings. You get that and this. And this is obviously not how the helipad looks, but hey, it's great for the sim. So there's a couple other things that I wanted to go over just really quick, and this is actually something that, and I get it. Here's your collective, and I had mentioned previously that I'm using a throttle quadrant, and I'm not going to rock it back and forth because the helicopter is going to want to take off. So this is your collective, and this is your collective, and this is the actual throttle on the collective. And if I roll my mouse, I can control the amount of throttle that it gets. And I could bind a key to this, and I'm going to have to sit down and do that because I know it's possible, and make an alternate configuration, which is probably going to be another video at some point. So this is what I wanted to kind of discuss with you as well. Just kind of in this quick tutorial video, is that flight sim is expensive, depending on how far you want to go with this. Your average laptop will not be able to handle the simulator. I highly recommend a desktop in the PC world with a very nice video card, with a nice monitor, and again, a stick, a throttle quadrant, and some pedals to get a more realistic experience. And all of this is going to set you back. And you might say, well, gee, I don't have that. And I want to... Well, I know people who are out there who are flying on a PC. Some of them are flying on gaming laptops. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it. And some of them are flying with control pads, like an Xbox kind of controller, or an Xbox controller, PlayStation controller, plugged into their PC, and they're like, hey, and obviously, as I've been told, you have to turn assists on for that. So you can do this in a bunch of different ways on something that is affordable to your budget. But I am going to say, and this is just kind of me saying, just being a little real about this sim. So, I mean, I'm not going to brag about my PC because it's not that great as of today. Yes, I built it myself, but woohoo! I mean, plenty of people can build PCs as of today. I do have a, what is it, an MSI 3080, TI video card, and it's made by MSI, obviously. And it's NVIDIA, not AMD, because I have an NVIDIA monitor, so they sync. It's not an NVIDIA monitor, it's an Asus monitor. And someone's like, oh, you're losing me, right? Oh, this computer speak, I don't understand it, and I get it. So, but I mean, I do have a fairly nice video card and a monitor that syncs with it, and technical mumbo jumbo computer jargon, so they work together and they give me good frame rates. And for the outrageous amount of money that I've invested in this computer over time, which I'm not even going to even look at the receipts at this point, this machine has become obsolete, and I'm looking at getting and I say 3090? It's a 3080 video card. I'm going to have to build a new machine because I want to get the 4090 video card because it has better performance, but I also want to upgrade my whole machine. So here's kind of the thing about flight simming as a hobby. Yes, it's way cheaper than buying an actual helicopter and getting your pilot's license. And if that's something you want to do, then more power to you. Go out and do it, and know that it's a major investment. Just getting your actual pilot's license is a major investment, and I hope that you're, medically able to fly aircraft too, because the FAA will consider that. So don't spend your money on getting a pilot's license if you're only going to be able to fly experimental aircraft. Then you better be happy flying experimental aircraft and saying, oh, gee, I can't. Nope, the FAA said no. So just know that getting an actual pilot's license has a lot of requirements. And to get around those requirements is going to cost you even more money because you're probably going to have to get legal counsel. And it's just going to... It's an investment in your life if it's something that you want to do. But for the sim, it's just a financial investment. And you may have to say, well, gee, I really wanted to do something to my car. Or, hey, I wanted to, do this or do that because I have so much of an income that I can... Or you might be kind of like Pony, and I'm not trying to complain, and I might say, hey, gee, I wanted to eat this month, and I'm just not going to be able to afford that video card. I'm not going to be able to... So you're going to have to budget it. So you can fly this sim, and you want to look it up. The specifications for it are out there, and it doesn't fly great with the minimum specs. And the add-on equipment, it all costs money. So if you want to do this, and I'm not saying don't do this, and I'm not trying to be like super negative, just it's going to cost you money. And I enjoy all the money that I've spent on it so far, and I won't do certain things because I don't have it. So just know you're going to spend some cash on this. And how much of that and how much of what you can spend is up to you. And I'm getting by on a very low budget. So there you go. That's enough. And I just want to say, hey, everybody, don't give up. And you can do more than you think you can, even with what you have. So keep trying. And don't give up, because you'll be amazed at what you can do if you can try. If you put your mind to it, sometimes you might amaze yourself at what you can do. And the Bell 407 in this sim is incredibly difficult to fly. So keep trying, even no matter how frustrated you get. Eventually you will get it. And then you'll be like, wow, I got it. Look, I can fly it. Yes. Yes, and then the next time you fly a Cessna 172 or like an F-16 or an F-15 or the Eurofighter or whatever, the Concorde, when it gets working again, you'll be like, wow. And I'll be like, yeah, because you could fly this. So, it's a lot harder. So, hey, everybody. There we go. Bell 407. And I want to say thank you for watching Derp Your Hooves. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the skies.